Welcome to Bets on the Future, where we highlight the various career paths in the electrifying metals world. From the vehicle you ride in to the bridge holding it up, metals are everywhere. Why not in your career too? I'm Jennifer Betts, a metals industry veteran with almost 20 years experience, here to highlight these incredible career paths as told by the women who are living them. On this week's episode of Bets on the Future, Deanne Toto joins us from Ohio as she shares her history growing up in a steelmaking family to today's journey covering the metals and beyond recycling industries. Join me as we discuss her experiences working for GIE Media and Recycling Today magazine, covering some of the most unique recycling and sustainable stories. Deanne, I'm very excited to have you on the podcast today. This is another avenue that most people don't really think about when they're thinking about careers, about metals, about recycling, and you've been doing it 2 decades plus,
Yes,
maybe at this point?
2.5 decades, a little bit more than that. Yes, 26 years.
Wow, that's fantastic. Congratulations. And a lot of that, I believe from our initial conversation was at or is at the same company that you're at today, correct?
Yes, all of it at GIE Media.
Wow, that's impressive. You're a unicorn to today's job market candidates out there. It has to mean that you like what you do, that you like the company that you're working for. For those people that are unfamiliar with who you are, do you mind just giving a quick background, name, title, who you are, basically?
So I am Deanne Toto. I am the editorial director of the Recycling Today Media Group. And our flagship publication, which most people in the scrap recycling industry would be aware of, is Recycling Today. That has published for over 60 years. And yeah, long time. And we produce additional publications called Waste Today. That is our newest. That serves the environmental services industry more broadly, and construction and demolition recycling. So just as the name implies, construction and demolition debris processors and demolition contractors.
I have to imagine when you got the job opportunity or you were reached out about this opportunity, you probably didn't have a lot of, experience in this realm. I mean, I think most people just assume metals, recycling, it's the blue bin at the end of the driveway. And now you're discussing, construction, demolition, recycling in an industrial setting. It it had to have piqued your interest. Like, what was that spark? What was that moment when you're like, oh, I'm in this. I'm in this for the long haul.
So I wasn't completely uh, out of touch with the recycling industry, particularly the metals end. My parents actually both worked for a steel mill
Oh, wow.
in
Okay.
the Warren, Ohio area. My dad was a motor inspector, and my mom worked in the purchasing department. And so, we would often go pick up mom for lunch. So I was in the steel mill, but not in the steel mill.
Not in the
Certainly,
melt shop, the rolling mill.
yeah, certainly little kids weren't going to be out that way, but I was, in the purchasing department office, and then she went and worked in the engineering department. So I was in there. And then in the summer, they would extend the offer to employees for their kids to work in the steel mill. So I worked as a slab checker. I worked in the railroad office, checking in the trains as they came in. I was spotting bins and that kind of stuff too.
Wow.
So
Um,
yeah, I
I'm
wasn't completely out of touch with it.
so I'm stealing an idea from another podcast where essentially when we start using industry terms that may not be completely
Mhm.
widespread public knowledge, I'm going to be referencing my husband, Eston, that is in the biomedical field. We have completely different careers. So if you could, when you're talking about slab checking, would you mind explaining it to my husband, Eston, in this situation, for the broader scale?
Yeah, so oh my God, this was over like 26 years ago. So I'll have to see if I even remember. So we got clipboards that had printouts on them, and we were out in the yard in the sun with hot slabs of steel there, and we
Fresh,
had to write.
right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we had to write on them with a big crayon type thing, and confirm like, yes, this slab is this number, that is the best that I can recall
That that's
of what that job entailed.
that's amazing to think of. As you said, they're hot, they're fresh. Like they
Mhm.
just, I mean, it takes a while for, slabs that were once at 2000, ish degrees
Yeah,
to cool down. And you're
yeah,
out there walking amongst them in the summer heat. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm somewhat shocked that you're still in this industry after that intro. That's that's incredible. So how do you go from, having at least some knowledge of the industry to, what kind of education, what moved you into what you're doing today? Like, how did you get there?
uh, with a lot of conversations from very generous people who, shared their expertise, their time, their insight, and you're always learning. So I'm still learning even now, all these many years later, as things evolve and change, you you've got to evolve and change, and you need new sources of info and new contacts. And so yes, relationships very important. I know what I know because people are kind enough to talk with me and make time in their day. And also, I believe you're familiar with my boss, Jim Keefe, the publisher of Recycling Today. He is a font of knowledge as well. So, I have gotten numerous brain dumps from Jim. helped,
Yes. And
helped get me where I am.
he's a fantastic person to know from a networking standpoint, from a knowledge standpoint. That's what's wonderful about our industry, is that knowledge transfer, that there are many Jim Keefes in our industry that pass down the information, that pass on the knowledge, that go out of their way to make that introduction for you. Because, okay, yes, you could go to school for metallurgy. Okay, you get the basis, but generally speaking, most people in this industry, they have to learn on the job, right?
Yes, yes, that's what we all do, right? Even in the journalism end of it, you can go and read the textbook, have the discussions, take the quizzes, but until you're actually doing it day to day, you really have no idea what you're in for and what challenges are going to arise.
No, no. And I imagine, since you do on-site interviews sometimes, you've probably seen some really interesting things over the year. Is there one or two in particular that just kind of struck you as fascinating or interesting that you want to share?
Uh, so I have a couple timely things. As you may have heard, Grant Milliron recently died, and we went and visited his yard in 2018, and I was just so impressed by passion,
Hmm?
his kindness.
Yes.
He was so willing to take time and explain everything to us, and his pride for what he did. And he was a hands-on operator. He was in that
Yes.
yard every day, and so you know he knew all the numbers of his business. He knew it inside and out. So that impressed me. And then recently we were at Gershow Recycling, and just seeing what they've done with their non-ferrous metals recovery plant and the investments that they're making in their business. And, it's not a name that's on the tip of everybody's tongue, but they are doing really great
Uh,
things.
yes. The industry that you're discussing is essentially scrap metal recycled materials. You referenced the non-ferrous metal recovery system
Yeah.
for Essen. That is essentially what happens after the material gets shredded in an auto shredder. The magnets pull out the ferrous part, the steel part. I'm very much glossing over some various other.
This is the abridged version. Yes.
This is very much the abridged version. But the non-ferrous recovery systems are fascinating today because non-ferrous covers a wide range of metals: aluminum, copper, stainless, if you want to call certain stainless, non-ferrous in that world. And they're all little parts of copper wires, pipes, like little pieces of aluminum, cast, things like that. And it's all jumbled together. Imagine if you took like 20 different types of cereal and you mixed it together, and then essentially you had to say, yeah, now sort them out.
Yeah.
And that's what these
turn them to their original products. Yeah.
Yes, so that we can melt them down and reuse them again. And so the systems are fascinating, and they are not cheap. They are very expensive, millions upon millions of dollars. But it's incredible to see those companies like Gershow installing those and seeing the business benefit of it.
Yes. And man, those are also, the Gershowitz, I should say, man, they are in tune with their business. They are measuring every pound that's coming through their plant. It is, it is an amazing thing to witness.
It absolutely is. You mentioned Grant Mill Iron. I had the incredible fortune of being able to visit his yard, and he drove me around. Like when I met him, he, by many other industry standards, probably should have been on an island somewhere, relaxing, enjoying retirement. And nope, he was going to be there every single day. When I showed up, he wanted to give me a tour of the yard. So he's like, get in the truck, let's go. And he showed me around, and it was impressive. I also have to say, probably one of the best names in the industry. I mean, he's from Mansfield, Ohio, correct?
Yes.
Right. So Mansfield, Ohio is a steel town. AK Steel, now Cleveland Cliffs, has a steel mill there. And his last name is literally Mill Iron. Iron. I mean, I could not have made that up. It was too perfect. And there's several good names in the industry like that.
He was born to go into metals recycling.
Yes, very much so. I feel like he could not go into any other field. He had to do that. And he was very good at it.
He took a lot of calculated risks, as he liked to tell me.
Absolutely. What are you working on these days? Because I know a few things that you and your company are working on, but is there anything in particular that you're excited about that's coming up?
Oh, well, we've got our Scrap Expo, as you are well aware of. That is coming up. That's our second year for the event. You will be speaking there, which I'm very much looking forward to. We're going to have a session on women in the industry and how we may be very well an untapped resource, especially these days when hiring is so much more challenging. And we're going to have another session on the vertical integration of the industry, where we have a lot of heavy hitters in the ferrous sector speaking during that. So I'm also very excited. Well, I say Danny Rifkin, he was a big name in the ferro, but now he's in the aluminum sector.
Yes, and I've alluded to the Rifkins on a previous episode before, but that's another good example of, he should have been on an island somewhere, and he's like, nope, I'm going to take my payout and I'm going to turn around and do it again. Do it again.
Many people tell me as I'm interviewing them for profiles that this industry just gets into your blood, and there are certainly, Danny Rifkin, Grant Mill Iron, the Gershowitz, certainly examples of people who, yes, this industry is in their blood and they are not going anywhere.
No, not at all. I've interviewed a few individuals on this podcast where they've started off maybe in a different industry, come over here, and then thought, maybe the metals industry isn't for me. And then they went, outside, and, 4 months later, they're back. Right. This was supposed to be like a 6-month, I'll see how it goes for me. And I'm still here.
So what brings you back? What brought you back, I should say?
Hey, I didn't know what I was getting into. I was very naive. I took a job out of college for the David J. Joseph Company, now Nucor Steel. And they're like, here's a company car, here's, expense account, go travel. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll try this. And then once I started meeting the individuals like Grant Milliron or Pat Hill, who is now retired, there's some very interesting folks that are in the industry. And then the things that I've seen just kind of hooked me that the everyday person they don't see what we do. Like I think we did a decent job of describing what a non-ferrous metal recovery plant is, but until you see it in action, until you see an aluminum smelter, until you see an electric arc furnace actually charge steel, you can't really explain it well. So I'm sure that's very similar as to why you're still in this, because you've seen some incredible things over the years.
Yeah, and there's, like I said earlier, there's just so much to learn. You never are done learning this industry. And we don't just oh my goodness, tongue tied, exclusively cover the metals end of things. We're also involved in paper, plastics, municipal. So yeah, if I get bored with one subject, I just need to turn my attention elsewhere until, something new happens in that area and I'm back. So it's, yeah, just the variety of things we get to cover. Even in the metal space, there's so much different
Really
stuff
is.
going on in each of the different segments that, yeah, I say if I get bored, but I really don't ever get bored. It's more like, okay, I have to shift over here now because
Yes.
this needs to get done. But yeah, I don't get bored.
There is a variety of topics that you can cover at what you do. And I'm curious, how have you seen those topics evolved over the years, especially as it relates to the marketing of sustainability and the marketing of recycling? I'm sure you're probably getting some more inquiries from sources outside of our industry recently.
Well, decarbonization really wasn't a word that many people used until the last couple of years. People used scrap or recycled materials because it was the less expensive raw material option, not because of the environmental benefits or the ESG benefits, the environmental, social, and governance, aspect of it, which is becoming much more important for a lot of companies. Like they're if they want, especially public companies, if they want to keep their investors happy, they need to be considering these things. And like the whole use of hydrogen to power these processes, like I haven't heard so much about that being talked, and like really like trials happening like that are publicized widely until just this past year or so, it seems. So that's all, very exciting. And yeah, just sustainability, circularity,
Mm-hmm.
all of those words just in the last 3 years have become, more commonplace. We were talking about them maybe in the recycling space, but now you're hearing consumer packaged goods companies, automakers, all of them speaking that language. So that's very exciting.
Which is kind of interesting considering a vehicle has a high percentage of recycled materials already in it. And it has
Yes,
for decades.
yes, yeah,
It's already been in there.
yeah. And the lead acid battery is at what, 99% recycling rate. So
Yes.
yeah, EV batteries will need to get with the program.
Yes, that's a whole other episode. That's a whole other podcast
Yes.
series. Hey, is that a business opportunity for GIE Media? Maybe the coverage of that aspect of it.
Well, I don't know if you're aware, but we hosted our first battery and critical metals recycling conference, yes, this past June. So we've certainly covered the topic in the magazine, but I think we can do a lot more. And our first event was we were very pleased with the attendance. We were very pleased with the feedback. So we are looking forward to planning next year's event. And I think we're sticking in that June timeframe as well.
Same location?
Same location. Yes.
Okay. And
So
where was that again?
Atlanta. It was Atlanta at a Weston property in Buckhead.
Okay. Oh, I like that. I like that area.
Yeah.
Many people probably, the EV battery, not to touch too much of a lightning rod. It's a little divisive on some folks, but they're made of metals, right? So when we talk about battery scientists, about EVs, about just the electrification, right? A lot of individuals are looking at that as a career choice, and yet they're not really realizing they're talking about metals. They're talking about a commodity. They're talking about something that has been recycled previously in the lead battery space, right? All of the other metals that make it up have been recycled in their own rights. And now there's this creative opportunity from a career and professional standpoint to actually be able to do this professionally, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's fascinating.
On a large scale.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guilty of it. I do have an electric vehicle, and I did it for a variety of reasons, including I know that it's manufactured and made from domestic sources of recycled materials. And it never occurred to me what would happen if I got into an accident. A regular ICE vehicle, right? I know the whole supply chain. I know the auto shredders in my area. I know where it would go. I know where it would probably wind up and what melt shop, right? And where it would eventually go down to a new washer and dryer, a new car, whatever. But the EV battery part, that is the huge question mark at this point.
Yes.
So it's
Lots of
wonderful to hear you are working on that and trying to connect the industries and all the different points together in those conferences.
Yes, that is the objective of that event, to bring, everybody to the table to have those conversations, because they're not all necessarily talking to another, which is hard to
No.
believe.
No, the right hand is not talking to the left hand. I've recently discovered that the folks that are designing and producing, creating these batteries are not talking. Well, they are. I think some of them are these days, but originally we're not talking to end of life recyclers on how to handle them safely, right? They weren't designing them with end of life in mind, because they do last quite a while. Like they will be on the road quite a while, but that needs to be discussed and figured out prior to the next generation coming out.
And accidents happen. So, they might find their way to a automobile recycling operation sooner than later because of that, and some people just don't know the first thing of what to do with them.
No, not at all. Well, I would say in general, people, when their cars are in accidents, it's not something that everyone is familiar with, right? Usually it's, you call the insurance, the auto body shop comes and picks it up, they give you an estimate, What you don't see behind the scenes is that the auto body shop is now taking your scrap metal from that vehicle, and they are taking it to this local scrapyard, the local recycled materials facility, right? And they're getting paid for that metal, as well as you are being charged for their services. And so that's always been happening. But now how do you do it with the EV batteries? Because those are a little bit tougher to deal with.
Yes. And potentially more dangerous, especially if they've been damaged in an accident.
Yes. Safety wise, it is a bit challenging.
Yes.
You've been in the industry for 2.5 decades. Why are you still here? Like, how has your why changed from the beginning to today?
Well, I'm not sure it's changed that much. The people are great in this industry, so that's why I want to continue to cover it. But, you know, also the environmental impact of what our readers do every day is, you know, such a valuable contribution. And it's great to be able to share their stories with people. Now we're a, you know, B2B magazine, business to business magazine. So when I'm writing about a company, it's with other companies in mind, but, you know, every now and then a consumer, uh, an average Joe may stumble upon an article and get a better understanding of what this industry is. And I think that's important because this industry has not always done a great job of
Nope.
telling people its story. And, um, you know, lots of misconceptions
Hmm.
occur because people have insisted on staying under the radar. And I would just encourage everybody out there, if you are running a recycling operation, don't hide
Oh,
from the publicity. Go tell your story. Be
yep.
proud of what you do, and the contribution you make, not just in terms of the environmental contribution, but the employment contribution, you know, the tax contributions you're making as a company that are helping to fund things in your community. It's all so important. And, uh, you know, they say there's no such thing as bad press. And uh, I know that some people would not agree with that. But, you know, if you can get out there, tell a positive story about, ooh, my earbuds don't want to stay in today. If you can get out there and tell a positive story about your company and the industry that you represent, that is only going to benefit the industry, your community, your business, and ultimately our environment. So don't be shy.
Absolutely. And as a self-interest plug, call me if you're one of those metal recycling facilities. I can help with that. Because that you hit it on the head. We've always been under the radar. The metals industry is one of those careers that people fall into, or they have a family or friend connection. People do not seek it out. That needs to change because we are the perfect combination of jobs, economy, tax contribution, and also an environmental sustainability, circular economy. Like we cover both of those into a career that's lifelong.
Yes.
That you can cover, you can be in the reporting, publication side of things, you can be in commercial, manufacturing. There's so many different facets to this industry that people just are not even aware of exist.
Yes.
Is
And we only can attract the good talent if we make ourselves visible.
Yes, and again, there's so many cool things that we do, and do you know how hard it is for me to find videos online of what I've seen in person? And of course, at the time, you know, from a safety standpoint, I'm not going around a steel mill or an aluminum smelter with my camera out, right? I'm looking at all the safety hazards to make sure that like I'm as safe as possible and I'm following my guide, right?
Right.
Where are those videos? Where
Yeah.
where's the video of the non-ferrous metal recovery plant that's like, you know, flinging from the 400 like air puffs and the x-rays and the, you know,
Yeah.
the very cool technology that exists? Where are the videos of that show what
Yes.
we're
We need to get some drones in there so we can do it safely. And
Yes, yes, I might have a person for you on that. I might have a
oh,
connection on drone company for you on that that has some
sounds
good
good.
metals experience. um I, I mean, I think that's really great advice. Is there any advice for individuals that you would give to get into this industry?
Be curious, be humble, uh, you know, um, be persistent, be tough.
Yep.
um, I think that would about sum it up.
I think that's really great advice. It's definitely something that resonates with me. So I'm thinking back to my career.
Yeah.
I, you know, I feel like we could probably keep talking at this point. I will see you in Louisville in September for Scrap Expo. I believe this is probably going to come out a little bit before that. So, spoiler alert, we're recording this not the week before Scrap Expo. So we give our editorial team some chance to, edit it. But I'm really looking forward to seeing you in person, to catching up, and I'm looking forward to the Scrap Expo.
Yes, it should be even bigger and better than last year, I dare say.
And I was unfortunately unable to go last year, so I can't wait. I heard some really great positive things out of last year's conference.
Yeah, we were completely pleased with the turnout and the feedback that we got, and we just want to, make it that much better this year. And I think we're on our way to do.
I think you are. I think you are. For anybody that is interested in reaching out to you, you're on LinkedIn. You can find Deanne on GIE Media's sites. She is a huge talent in our industry, very knowledgeable, great to connect. So I'm very honored that you were able to hop on today and have a quick conversation about our incredible industry.
Well, I thank you for asking me to join you, and I appreciate that you are supporting what we're doing at Scrap Expo, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to chat with more women in the industry who are out there rolling their sleeves up every day and getting it done.
Absolutely. There's more of us than what may appear to the eye, but we're out there and recruiting more.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank
And
you so
who
much.
knows? We might have even more after this session.
Yes.
That's
fingers crossed. That's the intent. Like, let's get more people interested in what we do.
Yes. Let's raise our profile and let people know the good work that this industry does.
Yes. Very well said. Thank you again, Deanne. It was really wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.